What is up, guys? Jason Radowitz here with the slate for the MLB on April 14th. It is a Thursday, and it is the one day that I go live for the public and for my Dub Club subscribers. So, this is your chance to get my information on some of the games. Of course, this is a paid subscription for every other day. So, if you're looking to join my subscription based program, uh, go in that description link below, click on the link and subscribe for the access package, which is my picks texted to you. You also get video content like this and my leans and value plays as well. Just $45 an entire month. And if you need a little discount code, reach out to me and I will give that out to you as well as appreciation. But let's get right to it. We've got some early games today on the slate, some later games on the slate. So a lot of action. And of course, I do have a best bet to give out as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that as we get through the entire slate of games. Again, the first game we'll be going to is the A's against the Rays. It's going to be Josh Fleming on the mound going up against Cole Irvin. So Irvin, a left-handed pitcher, 4.96 xFIP, also low on the strikeouts, but also low on the walks, which wasn't too bad last season. And again, we're basing these stats off of last year and this year. So most of the stats are going to be kind of from last year. But anyway, yeah, Irvin, low ground balls, high line drive rate. So wasn't really great. Had a good solid stretch last season, but wasn't great overall. A little bit of power to righties as the left-handed pitcher. So you look at this Rays lineup, you're going to have plenty of righties in the lineup, guys that can hit for power, like Wander Franco, like Arozarena. So those two guys are big power bats in the lineup there for the Rays going up against the Athletics and Irvin. And then you go to the other side, you have Josh Fleming on the mound. He's a lefty with a very low strikeout numbers as well. But you look at this lineup for the Athletics, and we've said this kind of every single time I've talked about them. The Athletics, their lineup looks horrible, especially against lefties. Last season, this projected lineup, or I think the lineup even came out already, but this lineup, a 140 ISO and a weighted OBA of 250. It's just awful. Striking out 27.3% of the time against lefties last season and walking just 6.5% of the time last season. So again, not much to like out of this Athletics lineup at all. Now they have kind of impressed recently, scoring some runs against the Rays. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, looking at their lineup from last season, it does not look good at all. So I would not count on the Athletics to be much of a threat against lefties this season. Although, yeah, they've hit the ball the last two games. But overall, don't expect much out of this team, especially against lefties, even with a ton of righties in the lineup. So, yeah, if I had to choose on this game, I don't have a play here, but I do like the Rays in this one. I think they got the job done, and I think they get the job done rather easily. But I did say that yesterday, so it is what it is. But again, yeah, don't like anything I see with the Athletics here against lefty pitcher. Now going to the next game here, Mariners against the White Sox. We've got Lambert on the mound for the White Sox. Obviously didn't perform that much last season, but when he did, a 6.70 xFIP, struck out under 17% of the batters, and also walked over 10% of the batters as well. So a low ground ball rate, high line drive rate, a lot of hard contact off of Lambert as well. So for the righty, not much to like there. A lot of power from righties against the righty there. So you look at guys like Haniger, Suarez, Rodriguez hasn't started off the season very well, but obviously we know he's a big power bat as well. So I do like this Mariners lineup. I think the Mariners will have success against Lambert. They got in the middle of the lineup Winker, Haniger, Suarez, the three guys with high ISO power numbers against righties. But really, I think this entire lineup can do fine against Lambert, a guy that really didn't perform well at all last year. It was limited work, but don't think that he'll be very good coming into this season. And then on the other hand, for the Mariners, you got Logan Gilbert on the mound. So Gilbert, a young pitcher, a lot of talent, could be very, very good. He did have a high xFIP last season, but he also struck out about 26% of the batters, also walked under 6% of the batters. So I still think there's a lot of potential here with Gilbert. The ground balls need to be higher. The line drives need to be lower. But overall, he can get a lot of swing and misses. He attacks the zone, doesn't really walk that many batters, which is very good for Gilbert. He will allow some power from righties. A 212 ISO against righties last season in 257 plate appearances last season and this season from his one start earlier this year. But overall, you're going to see maybe Anderson will be a righty, Robert will be a righty, or Brady will be a righty, Vaughn will be a righty. So Gilbert could get attacked with some power coming from right-handed batters. But overall, I think Gilbert be much better pitcher here, and I would side with the Mariners in this game against the White Sox. Despite the White Sox having better power numbers against righties, I do think that Lambert will get rocked by the Mariners middle of the lineup, and I think that there's enough there. And I think Gilbert also has improved from last season as well. I think that we'll see that throughout the entire season. So if I had to choose, yes, I like the Mariners in this game. That's a 2:00 game. Now on to the Cardinals and Brewers game. This game is a 5:14 start. In this one, it's going to be Wainwright against Woodruff. And Woodruff looks horrible in his first start. He's on my fantasy team, so it killed. But I do think that he will get back to the Woodruff that we know. Last season, 3.16 xFIP, struck out about 30% of the batters, walked just 6.1% of batters. So he was terrific last season. The Brewers obviously have really great pitching, and he was one of the reasons for it. Low power numbers from both sides, very low weighted on base averages from both sides. So he was terrific, despite his bad start last outing in the opener for Woodruff. So in this one, I think really the Cardinals, they're much better against lefties if you're going to take the Cardinals in any game or kind of bet that stack of their team. You have O'Neill and Arenado. Both guys hit a lot of power against righties. But again, we said Woodruff doesn't really allow too much power. So I wouldn't count on the Cardinals to just go off and do some damage against Woodruff in this game. Yeah, Woodruff had a bad start. He could have another bad start, but I'm going off of last year's stats, and last year's stats tell me that Woodruff will be just fine in this game. Again, his line drive, contact really high last season. That wasn't good. The ground ball rate also very low, but again, he was able to limit the power, limit the damage, and he was just fine last season. So I expect the same going into the season. Wainwright, a guy with a little bit higher xFIP, 4.12, but also the walks were low, and the strikeouts were about 21%, which is about average, especially for a guy like him. That's not bad at all. Again, he kept the power down. Also, the weighted on base averages were 277 to both sides last season, and combining that with his first start this season. So he's just a guy that kind of gets the job done. Ground ball rate high enough, line drive rate 23%, not terrible. And then you look at this Brewers lineup. The reality is the Brewers lineup it's just underwhelming. That's what it's just underwhelming. The Brewers, when you think that they can do plenty of damage, they don't. So you have Adames in there, Tellez, Renfroe, guys with good power numbers against righties. But again, it's hard to take the Brewers anytime as an offense because they just never come through, even when they should be. And against Wainwright, you don't expect it either. So this one, I think you get the under in the first 5 innings. I think that makes the most sense in this game. I think Woodruff gets back on track, and I like Wainwright. I think he, quality. He's a quality pitcher, right? 5 or 6 innings, allows less than 3 runs, and gets the job done. So that's where I would go. I'd go with the under in the first 5 innings for that game. And I see Richard in the chat. Hi, Richard. Good to see you there. Finally figuring out this YouTube thing. But next game we're going to go to, it's going to be the Nationals against the Pirates. 2 really bad pitchers going up here. Actually, I would say Pittsburgh has the better pitcher in Brubaker. You have Adone on the mound for the Nationals. We'll start with Adone. Adone, 4.47 xFIP last season and in his first start this season. 15.2% walks. So this guy just walks the freaking world. It's been limited plate appearances, but he walks the world. Also, though, able to get a high amount of ground balls. Also able to limit the line drive rate so far in his short stint with the Nationals from last season into this season. So here you've got the Pirates, right? They're an awful offense, but I mean they've produced recently. But you look at this lineup against righties last season and this year combined 135 ISO, a weighted OBA of 292, not good at all. But the Pirates are able to walk 11.1% walks for this lineup. Vogelback 18%, Reynolds 11.5%, Sugo 13.1%, Gamble 16%, Park 12.2% walk. So these guys can walk, get on base, and maybe create some havoc there against Adon, who a big strikeout guy and a big walk guy, but also a big ground ball guy and limits line drive. So this guy, Adon, is really hard to figure out. But overall, I think if the Pirates can get some guys on base, they do have potential to score some runs with a clutch hit or two in this game. Then you go to Brubaker, the better pitcher when it comes to xFIP, obviously has more experience and really is kind of the Pirates' ace pitcher if you want to talk about any ace pitchers on the Pirates. But 22.9% strikeouts, really not bad in that regard, but also very high weighted OBAs, very high ISO power numbers from lefties and righties last season for Brubaker. You've got Soto, Cruz, and Bell. Those three guys have really high ISO numbers against righties throughout their careers and from last year and into this year. So Brubaker, a little bit scary there going up against those three guys. But if he can get through those three guys, the bottom half of the order for the Nationals, really not good at all. So if I had to choose, I think the Pirates can get the job done here. I'm not betting it, of course, but I think if Brubaker can get through Soto, Cruz, and Bell, he'll be just fine. If he can get a lot of ground balls in this game, that will help a ton as well with getting double play balls and just kind of getting out of innings. So I think there's potential here for the Pirates against the Nationals. Both teams should be at the bottom of their divisions when the time comes at the end of the year. But overall, I think the Pirates with Brubaker on the mound have a little bit more going for them in this one. So I like the Pirates here. Not going to say that often, but I do like the Pirates in that game. Next game we're going to go to the Phillies-Marlins game. And in that Phillies-Marlins game, we have Alcantara on the mound going up against Kyle Gibson of the Pirates. Kyle Gibson, 4.30 xFIP last season, 8.7% walk. So the walks are high. The strikeouts are actually high enough, and he gets a lot of ground balls, 51% dating back to last season, which is really good stuff. ISO power numbers very low. Again, a lot of ground balls for Gibson. Weighted OBA a little bit high to lefties, so you have guys like Sanchez, Wendell, Chisholm. Those are the only three lefties that will be in the lineup against Gibson. So not much to like out of the Marlins offense, but Sanchez, the one big power bat. So if you're looking for a Marlins bat in this game against Gibson, it's going to be Jesus Sanchez, 288 ISO and a weighted OBA of 357 against righties in 156 plate appearances. So the one guy that can do damage in the lineup there. But then against Alcantara, the better pitcher for the Marlins with high strikeouts, low walks, and a lot of ground balls as well. But again, the Phillies lineup a lot better against righties. It hasn't really been. They haven't shown it this year so far, and they've been pretty inconsistent. But as the season progresses, yes, the Phillies are very, very good against righties. Schwarber, Harper, Gregorius will be in the lineup. Stott will probably get the nod most games against Bohm here when it comes to defense. So there's some lefties in the lineup that can do some damage. You've got righties like Real Muto, Castellanos, Hoskins. They've all done very well against righties in the past. So I like both lineups. I think that there's potential with both lineups. But then again, you've got Alcantara and Gibson getting a ton of ground balls, a high amount of strikeouts, a low amount of walks. So I think reality will set in. I think we see the under in the first 5 innings in this game. I think that makes the most sense between two pitchers that get a ton of ground balls, enough strikeouts, and both lineups really haven't been that great to start the season. So under in the first 5 innings in this one would be my favorite play in that game. Moving on, we've got the Blue Jays and Yankees game. Blue Jays obviously beat the Yankees last night off of Vlad Guerrero's 3-home run night. That was nuts. That was lots of fun to watch. Now the Yankees are going to be pitching Severino. Severino obviously didn't get to pitch at all last season, and we'll see how he performs this season. We don't have enough stats on him, so I'm not going to go deep into Severino because we don't really know what we're going to get out of him. Obviously, a guy the Yankees think will be an eighth pitcher, a guy that they believe is kind of their second best pitcher out, other than Garrett Cole. So he should perform. I think really when it comes down to it, the Blue Jays outside of Springer and Guerrero, they don't have much offense going up against righties in comparison to lefties. Obviously, Vlad Guerrero is a monster. Springer's a monster. Bichette and Gurriel, but it looks like now Hernandez might be out for a couple of games. So the lineup outside of those top four guys really isn't that great. And so I think that Severino could have a solid outing. Probably won't go deep in the game, so don't expect that. But the reality is Severino could have a strong outing if he can get through those top four batters. Now you have Gausman, on the other hand, with the Blue Jays, obviously pitched for the Giants last year, now on the Blue Jays this year. Dating back to last year, a 345 xFIP, struck out nearly 30% of the batters and walked under 7% of batters. So he's a terrific pitcher. Struggled a little bit more against righties when it came to power. So guys like Judge, Stanton, even Donaldson have maybe a little bit more power potential going up against Gausman, but I wouldn't really bank on it. So a game I would probably go with the under there with Gausman and Severino on the mound, but we don't have enough information on Severino to make a bet on it. And I wouldn't suggest making an actual bet on it. But if you do want to make a bet on it, I think the under would be the best play in this game with Gausman and Severino on the mound. First line, though, Severino probably won't go very deep in the game, and who knows how the bullpen will react after yesterday's outing. Now, on to the next game, we're going to go look at it's going to be the Angels-Rangers game. So the Angels-Rangers game, we have Ohtani on the mound going up against Dunning. So if you guys know me, you guys know that I never will bet an Ohtani game when he's pitching because he's inconsistent. Maybe him being a DH and not having to play in the field will benefit him in the long run when it comes to pitching. But yeah, I'm not going to touch Ohtani game. I will say that I think the Angels have some solid potential against Dunning. Dunning, the guy that gets a ton of ground balls, limits the line drives, but does walk a solid amount of batters and gives up some power to lefties. So kind of like Walsh, Marsh, Rojas, Wade, they're lefties. Got Ohtani in there, another lefty that think obviously can do damage. Trout should be back in the lineup tonight as well. But again, Dunning will get a lot of strikeouts in this game. Really, the Angels, they strike out a ton throughout their entire lineup, which is just really not good and kind of hurts them in the long run. But they do get solid amount of line drives, and they are able to limit the ground balls. So if they can get contact, the Angels will be a good look here, but they got to get contact. And against Dunning, it could be a little bit more difficult. And again, I'm not going to talk about Ohtani because he's inconsistent, but 3.69 xFIP and struck out 30.2% of the batters last season, but also walked 8.2% of the batters and gave up 0.204 ISO to lefties. So you got Miller, Seager, Lowe, Calhoun, or the other Calhoun. So the Rangers can definitely do some damage in this one. I think I select the Angels, but the top of the order for the Rangers can definitely do damage as well. So a game that I will be staying away from, and I really don't suggest you bet on either. All right, next game will be the Tigers against the Royals. I don't think we have a confirmed pitcher for the Royals yet, so a game I'm not going to really look at. But I will say that Casey Mize is on the mound for the Tigers, going up against a Royals lineup that really has struggled against righties dating back to last season. Really, Salvador Perez and Hunter Dozier, the two guys that have some power, but combined a weighted OBA of 283. 283 for this entire Royals lineup against righties dating back to last year. And, of course, Bobby Witt hasn't started the season very well either. So I do like the Tigers in this game, but we don't know who the pitcher will be for the Royals just yet. So, it'll be what it'll be. I'm probably going to be Greinke, if I had to assume. I don't know. They haven't announced it yet. So we're not going to worry about that game too much, but I do think the Tigers should be able to keep the Royals on their toes in that game. Next game, the Braves against the Padres. Musgrove going up against it's going to be Morton. So both really great pitchers. Guys are pretty consistent throughout. We're consistent last season throughout the entire year, really. So Morton, a 3.49 xFIP, struck out over 28% of batters. Walks were high, ground balls were also high, and line drives were a little bit high as well. But he still limited the home runs, and also weighted on base averages were pretty low against Morton as well. So really, you've got Machado, Cronenworth, and Voit in that lineup that have really good ISO numbers against righties. But outside that, outside that, you've got a ton of just a ton of guys that really don't do much against righties. So yeah, you can count on those three guys, Machado, Cronenworth, and Voit. But at the end of the day, the rest of the lineup kind of rally killers, I like to call that. And so like Hosmer, Profar, Myers, Abrams hasn't really started off very well. Grisham, Nola against righties. They're just none of those guys have done very much against righties. So those are rally killers, and that's why when I only see three guys in the lineup that can do damage and then six other guys that can't, I like the under when it comes to the Padres. And then you've got, can we get there? Then you got Musgrove, on the other hand, 384 xFIP, striking out 28.1% of the batters. He was terrific last year as well, but ISO power numbers to lefties a little bit higher, which was 197. So there's more potential here for the Braves in their offense. Right, you got Matt Olson, who dating back to last season, 226 ISO, a 381 weighted on base average. Also walked 15% of the time and struck out just 16.1% of the time. You've got Rosario, another lefty, Dickerson, another lefty. Both those guys have above average power numbers when it comes to ISO numbers against righties. Also Riley, also Duval have high power numbers against righties as well, even though they are right-handed batters. So the Braves, 35.8% ground ball rate against righties dating back to last year. A lot of line drives, hard contact. So yeah, the bottom of the order might strike out a little bit against Musgrove, but if they do make some contact, I like the Braves more against the Padres in this one. So the Braves, I see it as a pick-up, minus 110 both sides. I think the Braves get the job done in this game. So I would go with the Braves. Going up against Musgrove, I think the Braves offense has more potential. It's just how it's going to be. Now I'm going to skip the Cubs-Rockies game because that is where my official play is. So we're going to go right to the Reds-Dodgers game. This was kind of my bigger lean. We're going to look at the Dodgers here. And so it looks like Luis Cessa is going to get the start in this game for the Reds, but it's going to be Riviere Sanmartin who's going to get the bulk of this game. And shout out to Akbar. See you in the chat. Appreciate you for the support. But go back to this Reds-Dodgers game. It's going to be Cessa that's going to start, but then it's going to be Sanmartin that's going to get the bulk of this game. And Sanmartin looked so bad against the Braves in his first start of the season. The left-hander gave up a ton of runs and a ton of walks, 5 runs in that game, and did not look good at all. And so you look at this lineup for the Dodgers, they're balanced against righties, they're balanced against lefties. Doesn't matter if they're facing Cessa, Sanmartin, or anybody in that Reds bullpen or starting rotation, doesn't matter. The Dodgers, they're getting hot now. They look a lot better than they did against the Rockies. And so now they're facing the Reds with against lefties, they're 192 ISO, 332 weighted OBA. And then against righties, if I can get that, against righties, they have 194 ISO and weighted OBA of 348, getting back to last year. So they'll destroy no matter who they have to face. And so when you have the Dodgers going up against those two pitchers, Cessa and Sanmartin, I like the Dodgers over the 2.5 in the first 5 at minus 140. And so also, we're talking about the Reds. Their lineup looks pretty good against righties. It really isn't that bad. But then we talk about rally killers. You have Stevenson, Pham, Senzel, Farmer, Moustakas, all rally killers when it comes to weighted on base averages. And you got Walker Buehler, one of the best pitchers in baseball on the mound. And he's consistent as it gets. Low power numbers, low weighted on base averages. The walks are a bit higher to lefties, but outside of that, Buehler is one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I love the Dodgers in this one. I think over 2.5 in the first 5 on the team total is worth it. And obviously Dodgers, if you want to put them in a parlay at like minus 250, I think it makes a lot of sense as well against the Reds in this one. I'm looking at Jonathan India. That's why I said it. But anyway, we're going to go back to the Cubs-Rockies game, the final game of the slate, and the one game that I'm going to be betting on. So listen closely. I apologize. Now that I'm on live, the bet has actually changed, and the bet's not around anymore. And nothing I can do about that. when I give out plays all morning and then kind of the line changes. But overall, looking at, and it looks like my computer just froze for a second, but we got Freeland on the mound going up against Steele, two left-handed pitchers in this one. Both mediocre pitchers at best, and so we'll look at Steele first. Steele, a Cubs pitcher, didn't allow a single run in his first outing against the Brewers. But we've already talked about the Brewers. They're inconsistent against lefties, righties, inconsistent as an offense, and so it is what it is. But Steele, he walked 10.5% of the batters dating back to last year, a 4.35 xFIP, and against righties, a 346 weighted OBA and an ISO of 214. So really bad against righties with Steele. The strikeouts were a little bit higher to lefties, not to righties. So you're looking at this lineup for the Rockies. You're going to get a ton of righties in this lineup. You'll get Joe, Brian, Crone, Rogers, Grichuk, Diaz, Iglesias, and Hampton, all right-handed bats. And then you'll have Blackman, the one left-handed batter, but he does have a 341 weighted OBA and walks 11.5% of the time against lefties. So really got to love this lineup. The weighted OBA is 362 against lefties dating back to last year, and then the ISO is 211. So a lot to like here when you're looking at this Rockies lineup going up against Steele and lefty, and also under 40% ground balls, also over 24% line drives, a ton of hard contact, guys that can hit hard contact. Six of the 9 guys hit hard contact against lefties. So just so much to like out of this Rockies lineup against lefties. And I know Steele had a good outing in his first outing, but I don't think he's going to finish with a 0.00 ERA throughout the entire season. And with this game being in Colorado, yeah, I think that we'll see plenty of hits and runs against Steele in that one. Now, on the other hand, you have Kyle Freeland on the mound. Freeland looked a lot worse in his outing, allowed I think 3 runs in 5 innings against the Dodgers. But this is a lefty that struggled against righties just like Steele did, right? 333 weighted OBA and an ISO of 204 against righties. Also, lefties had a 343 weighted OBA, but it doesn't matter because if you look at this lineup for the Cubs, it's all right-handed bats. Frazier right-handed, Contreras, Wisdom, Schwindel, Suzuki, Madrigal, Hermosillo, Happ, Horner, and Jonathan Villar might be in the lineup, might not be. He's 7 of 8 against Freeland with 3 extra base hits, batting 375 against Freeland. So he might be in the lineup instead of one of the other guys in this lineup. But look at this dating back to last year. The ISO numbers, 192 ISO, weighted OBA of 342 against lefties from last season into this season. Also walking 11.4% of the time. They limit the ground balls just as much at 42.5%. The line drives over 21%. And again, 6 guys that can hit for hard contact against lefties. So I love both of these lineups against lefties. You're going to get 17 of 18 batters batting from the right side against mediocre lefties at best. And so on the over, and let me get my best bet here. My production is a little weak, but I am on the over 5.5 in the first 5 at minus 137 for the Cubs Rockies. Again, that's in the first 5 innings, the over 5.5 at minus 137. And that got that on Barstool, and then the line ended up changing, and it went to 6.5 at like plus 112, but you can still get over 6 at minus 115 and or minus 120 around that range. So worst comes to worst, if you do grab that 6, you'll just push if I end up winning. So that's the worst that could happen. Another way you can kind of go about this is you can go onto Superbook. They have both teams going over 2.5 in the first 5 on the team total. I think at minus 135 for the Rockies and then minus 120 for the Cubs. So you can get both those over on the team total at 2.5. And then if they both get 3 runs, you'll win both bets with just 6 runs being scored. So you can kind of go either way, any way you want to go. But I'm on the Cubs Rockies over 5.5 in the first 5 at minus 137 as my play of the day for the game. And just want to shout out to Stringer Bell. It's Moses here, so that's good to see him there. And then Richard telling me that he took the over 6 at minus 120 at DraftKings. And yeah, I think it's a great bet. If both teams get 3 runs, you'll get 6 and you get the push and you'll live another day anyway. And I think that we'll see plenty of runs in this one. Obviously, this game being in Colorado, being in Coors Field, it makes a lot of sense to go with the over in this one. And both lefties on the mound mediocre lefties at best, facing a ton of really good right-handed bats that smack lefties dating back to last year. It makes a ton of sense. So that is the play of the day for me. And I'm happy I was able to go public today and go give everybody the best bet of the day today. Again, if you're not on the All Access subscription for Dub Club, it's in the description box in the YouTube. Just click on that. It's $45 per month for my best bets and video access every single day from Monday through Friday. Of course, I will be going live once every week. Once every week. I don't know if it's going to be every Thursday or whatnot, but once every week I'll go live to give you guys kind of a sneak peek of what you get from my All Access package. You get this video, you get my picks texted right to you, and some leans as well. And so, of course, we're hoping to make some big time profit this year, and I hope that you guys can join me when we do that. So anyway, really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the All Access page. It will be private for those that are subscribed to my All Access page. But for those that aren't, I appreciate you guys watching and hope to see you guys there soon. Have a good one.